Hello, everybody. Welcome to FMA Talk Live. I'm your host, Datu Tim, and this is my wonderful co-host.
DG Ty's here. Welcome.
Hopefully, everyone's having a good time. Let me see here. Let me get back into this. Let us know where you are in the world when you're logging in and letting us know, hey, that you're watching. Let me see what's going on. So today's topic is why Modern Arnis. Both of us have had multiple training opportunities through the years to do different systems of martial arts. Modern Arnis is our primary focus. The question is why? Why not do other things? Are we doing other things? You know, is it the style? Is it the person that was behind it? Is it because we have we're gluttons for punishment? I don't know, whatever it is. So right off the bat, we have Mr. Wolf saying hello. We're getting real early. Trying to work on some monitor issues here. Too much light coming from the monitor. One of these days I get proper lighting for in here. Okay, I carry an RD stick. It's actually a plunger. No one messes with me with the guy with the plunger because you know he means business. Okay, very good. So this is the second show after the break. We've had a time to recharge our batteries, come up with a couple different things. I want to talk about one thing before we go today, or before we start today. So for those who've been following my social media stuff, we will be doing something on social media. Real quick, if you want to get views, two options. Show off your body or controversial topics. No one wants to see my body, so I've gone for controversial topics. Well, the company put out another video today, and it was my old one, which I want to redo. But the reason why they chose to redo one of the old ones, because it's one of the more popular ones, which is why FMA is better than BJJ, which I did wrong. It should have been why I prefer BJJ or FMA over BJJ. So that came out today, and I go like, I really don't like this video. I want to redo it. He goes, you know what? P. Diddy being arrested today, it's got all the social media stuff, so we didn't want to waste new content on something like that. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. But we should be able to get something from it, which has been going well. All right, so Matt Jones says, hello to all, and Tim. You know, Matt, I'm sorry, it doesn't cut it. You're not Renee. That's Renee's line.
That's right.
It's trademark, patent pending, the whole 9 yards. Eric, how you doing? I sent information to that person with a child who's going to be reaching out to you. If you have an email for your school, let me know. I did go under the school listings. You'll see it. I had to abbreviate it a little because there's just too much stuff there. And that's got to be Terrell.
That's Jim. Terrell.
He loves the dynamic duo back together. Yeah. Never apart, just sometimes life doesn't always work as well.
Yep.
No problem, Eric. Sometimes we just cannot coordinate our schedules well. Life's happening. You know, you're flying somewhere, I'm flying somewhere. We're both driving, usually driving people around us crazy, but that's another thing. That's usually me. So, you know, this ties into a video I did a while ago, and this is perfect timing, actually, because it's the video I dropped today, or that the social media company dropped today. Why I think FMA is better than BJJ. And it's not BJJ. It's all of this stuff. So, and there's Terrell again. How are we doing?
Yep.
You feeling better there, Ty?
Yeah, mostly. You might hear a couple of coughs. Hopefully it won't blow out anybody's speakers. But yeah, feeling pretty good.
So I'm not talking one-day events, but tell us a little about your training history, like all the things you've been exposed to with any quantity. More, like I said, more, and you can also go over. Hey, listen, here's a bunch of things I did on one-day seminars, and here's but like what? Because I want people to understand of all the things that we've collectively seen,
sure,
and why we've chosen the way we've chose.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah. So what did I do and see? in depth enough to have a feel for before I started Modern Arnis. And well, I think everybody knows, of course, I did Kung Fu, but they might have forgotten that I started in Malaysia with Southern style Kung Fu, Tiger Crane. And then a year of that went to Northern Grandmaster, Northern Shaolin down in Texas. And of course, I've been doing that ever since. Beyond that, Tai Chi, right? Yang style Tai Chi and some Chen. Shorin Kempo or Okinawan Kempo through our friend Hanshi Raymond. And a bunch of other stuff, but those would be the core. I saw a lot of each of those and felt a lot of each of those. And of course, I lived more than a couple of them. But that's what I had hands on and really formed the core of how I move and think and feel before I met or even actually before I got shown Modern Arnis with Guru Eric, and then of course a year later felt Remy and was that was it. So yeah, that's the background where anything I'm saying from will come from as far as why I went whole hog on Modern Arnis.
Okay, so let's catch a couple of these up, and then I'll give you mine. So please speak about a good hardwood flat stick. Seems like a lot of folks think rattan is a weapon. So listen, rattan has the capability of dropping people. It has the capability of being lethal. Rattan is not what I'd be using because, and this will be another video. Rattan is a safe alternative to using a blade. We didn't have training blades when we started. And then my training knife was a Japanese tanto. You couldn't find anything. And then when you did get access to stuff, it wasn't cool. It was just so way too big, not practical and stuff of that nature. As far as flat stick goes, if I'm going to fight with a real wood, I like a hardwood from the Philippines. It'd be Bahi or Kamagang. From the States, hickory, any kind of ebony I'd get my hands on. Cocobolo is another good one. But, just a real good hardwood. That's what I would use.
I would also say that a lot of times people forget that your rattan doesn't need to be like this. It can be, wampum sticks, right? Well, and that will make a difference.
Yeah. And then to that, remember, the skinny sticks were made for Filipino hands, and then they're shipped to us. And they're, you thought that's what you're supposed to use. Now I know there's some arts, they try to make themselves look faster by using light sticks. I get it. I have those sticks to keep up with them, and before, when I was younger, I could keep up with them with a stick that was 3 to 5 times heavier than what they used.
Right. Because the other thing that people do sometimes with rattan is to, soak it like the old days and soak it in oil and treat it, right? Then it becomes heavier and tougher, and that's gonna break some stuff.
I have linseed oil soaked sticks.
Yep.
But listen, if you want a good flat stick, I'll make it real simple. Find a short axe handle.
There you
go. Simple as that. You don't need to be anything. But listen, as far as what our sticks represent, crowbars, baseball bat, axe handles, that's the stuff in the States. In the Philippines, It represents a bowl or a machete. So, see, now, Matt, you're in trouble because I invoked the name of the Renee. So, Renee, someone was using your move of hi, Ty, hi, guys, and Tim, so you can't go that way. Can't go that way. All right, here we go. Boom. You should attack all. Okay. You should attack all the style while you choose Arnis versus Taekwondo. Okay, yeah. The haters love, yeah.
We're taking it backwards, right? We're saying, okay, forget about attacking aggressive styles. Why do we feel so good about Modern Arnis? So we're going to get there, but really from a positive point of view.
And the hype I've been doing on the internet, it's paid off because a lot of people are watching my stuff, which means when I talk about real content about what we're doing today and stuff like that, the message gets to the people we want. I've also helped people find schools literally around the world. So, Matt, yeah, whatever. Okay, and you got to give me some credit for trying to.
Oh, man.
You're like my hero. Because Tim kind of sucks, LOL. Okay, all right, just kidding. Okay, that's so. Is Ty your hero or is Renee your hero?
I think you meant Renee. Yeah.
Okay, why I chose Arnis over Kempo get you a lot of haters. Yep. The only blade is Wesley Snipes. Okay, there we go. Thai cheese, amazing. Okay, it's always the same things. Cocoa. Okay, yeah, okay. All right, Renee. Here we go. Finally, a voice of reason. Renee. Australian hardwood is deadly. Okay, all right. And then Pugai. That's a damn watching for the
very good.
Maganda Umaga. Rattan is safe. You know, it is a safe. It is safer.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna, listen. Well, here's the thing: if you've got that dried out rattan that everyone uses for weak calf fighting or to look really pretty in the demos, I've seen some of those break on one shot and a half. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
They'll break just swinging through the air sometimes.
But if you've ever been to my club, I can eat. The sticks we have, people like, there's no way in hell I would let you spar with that. I go, that's great because we're not sparring with that. It's too heavy, let alone the other ones. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that one. Preacher. Okay. FMA is better than BJ and BJ. In typical, is it better than a BJ? What up? Multiple opponents. Yep, we talk about that all the time. Bruce, how you doing? ¿Cómo está acá?
Nice.
Hey, listen. Ty, along with myself and others, will be in the Philippines in February. So we would love to visit training groups. We're going to go visit a Yaoyan gym. The Mata Guru is having a gathering the weekend we're getting there, so we'll be having part of that. It'll be all stuff. However, BJJ grounds shine.
Sure.
You know what? I want to sit there and say BJJ is awesome at groundwork. I'm looking at martial arts from a self-defense point of view, and we'll talk about this during the show more. But BJJ is a water. Okay, there is no such thing as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Let's get that straight. It is the Brazilians' take on the ground element of Judo. So BJJ comes from Judo, one sport art from another sport art. But what didn't they? But obviously Brazil didn't have the money for a lot of stuff, specifically judo mats, tatami mats. So they just worked the ground element. So now it's a lesser art than the main. And what is judo? It is a sport application of Japanese jiu-jitsu, is what the samurais used to protect the country from. So it's jiu-jitsu created judo. Judo then had an offshoot of that. But the judo BJJ emphasis is specifically sport. And a lot of them are trying to get back to, but a lot of schools are very tournament focused. And it ties in what I'm going to talk about in a minute. Okay, here we go. Purple Heart. Yep, that's a really good work. And then here we go. Thank you most of your time, Tim. I know you have a huge background. Much respect. You do much training with. So we do a lot of Panatukan. That's been a big thing of us lately. As far as Dumag goes, I want to be very upfront about this. We don't do Dumag. We probably have a couple moves of Dumag, but it's mostly small circle jiu-jitsu that Remy glommed on from Wally J.
Right.
That being said, when I'm teaching a Filipino martial art, I use Filipino terms, so I call it Dumag. All right. But I do not try to sell it as Filipino grappling. I'm very upfront where its origins are from. And like I said, there's no question. I mean, there's definitely some Filipino stuff in there, but the bulk of what we do is heavily influenced by judo and jiu-jitsu, because Remy had a judo background and he's best friends with Wally J, who had a huge judo background in addition to a small circle. Okay. Here we go. Bernard, how we doing? Another part of Smoking Sticks. There we go. And then White Oak. Sapling. Okay. Sure. All right. So hopefully that talks about the flat stick thing. Use a smaller axe handle, like a hatchet. I think that's, little. I've got one that Orlando Escrima gave me. Oh my God, it's amazing. But you've seen it. We call it Jerry. The kids call it Jerry. Yep. So they gave all my sticks a name, and well, that became Jerry. I'm not sure about Palm Beach County. Do you know where Palm Beach County is?
I have no idea.
Let me look this up.
Usually you got to be local to know what the county structure looks like.
Yeah, you're asking a New Yorker and a Virginian.
That's right.
Transplanted. Maps. Here, you look at this one while I look at that one.
Sure. So Emmanuel from Washington says practicing Modern Arnis Serrata systems and with roots from Lightning Scientific and Bikiti Tertia. Awesome.
Cool.
All good stuff.
All right. So that is Boca Raton, West Palm Beach, just north of Fort Lauderdale, north of Miami. There's a Balintawak group down there. Bobby Tabata has a group. Go check his website out. He should have someone down there. Paul, I think, is down there. Is that right?
I am not remembering. I'm getting, so for me, to be honest, right, I know there's some people and lots of different styles around Florida, but I always mix up the locations. So I'm not a good one to talk to about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's some names, right? So we have, what you just said. We have the Choose somewhere.
That's Orlando, and he's not doing. Yeah. Well, I think it's Orlando is for Chris, and I want to say Clearwater is where Bruce is.
That sounds right. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Dan Lohman too is somewhere down there, isn't he?
Yeah, Dan Lohman. There's a Comaton guy down there as well, somewhere. Those would be the names I would Google. And Carl Outram says hello.
Hey, Carl, brother.
Yep. Carl's coming to camp, right? Next weekend? Not this weekend?
He better be.
Yeah, I wish their website was better organized.
And Master Rich, awesome.
Oh, Gat is down there.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Southern Florida, yeah. Abon Bayet. Fort Lauderdale. Okay. He's a level 7 guy in Fort Lauderdale. Here we go. Boom. Posting out so everyone can see it.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Brock says Carl better be at camp.
And Tuhon Brock, good to see you, sir. I'll see you next week. Yeah, and everybody knows about the camp, right? Before we get too distracted, right?
So next week is the instructor development camp at HQ. We are slowly filling that. Well, I mean, I don't want to say slowly. We are getting close to capacity. So we limit this to 24 people. And well, there's people who've put in reservations that are not on the system. So we have under 10 spots left. So we specifically make this a smaller event for that. Okay. And Jason's one of the guys. So Carl and Jason are two of the guys that haven't registered, but who've got reservations set up. All right. Small Circle came from Don's. Yes, it did. Wally, and actually there's Don's in Buffalo. Actually, I it's funny, hilarious, because I'm talking to people like yep, he'll be there. So during COVID, the thanks for the history lesson on that. Yep. So during COVID, the police academy they had a lot of restrictions. They couldn't do extra hours. So I was asked, because one of my old students was in the academy, and this father is a detective in our town, and said, "Hey, do you mind if we use the facility for extra training?" And the instructors are going to come down. So I had a whole bunch of cadets in the school, and so they came down. It was a husband and wife team, and they do Dans and Rue. And I was like, "Oh yeah, we do Dans and Rue." "Oh yeah, we're related." "What do you mean?" "Well, Michael Remy Presas was best friends with Wally J, who created Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu. It's a derivative of Dans and Rue Jiu-Jitsu." Like, how the hell do you know about Dans? Well, actually, first like, yeah, I know what Dans and Rue Jiu-Jitsu. How do you know about that? And then did the connection, and then I went out to Mike Benarski's Benarski's tournament out in Midway, which was next to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. It was at a Dans and Rue school that was related to the same organization as the one in Buffalo. So I was like, oh no, we all know each other. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, okay. Lots of FMA practitioners train in Manila City on Sunday mornings in Luneta Park.
Definitely.
In case you went back there. So the statue is no longer erected. Oh, so first of all, thanks, Bruce. I've been there. This is going to be like my 10th trip. We
know many of those, but yeah, it's highly recommended.
They tore down the statue. They even wiped out the base, and I didn't get a picture of it in time because where I was going, it was like, what the hell happened? They're rebuilding it. But I don't think it's going to be back the way it was. It's going to be completely different. It's got to, I mean, they had, the whole thing is different. And I'm like, where the hell did this go? And I was like, oh no, they're in the middle of rebellion, because evidently it was like $40,000 when it was first erected back then. So who knows how much it is now. So, but yeah. Yo, Tim, how's the shoulder? It is getting better. I missed training FMA every morning back then. Okay. My favorite person in the police academy. One solo man. Okay. All right. So my background, I started in Modern Arnis. That was my first art. In addition to Modern, I got to work one of its derivatives, Combatant, with Ernesto Presas. Remy opened the door for me to work Balintawak with Ted Buat, which is a major influence on the creation of Modern Arnis. I got to do unofficially, I got to do a lot of small circle jiu-jitsu with Wally J himself being part of Remy's entourage. It gave me access, never went through the grading process. I'm a blue belt working on his purple belt for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Actually was the one that brought Buffalo. I was the first to offer Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I had a gentleman, I'm on the Canadian border, had a guy coming over the border weekly to train with me in Arnis, who did BJJ because he saw the value of what we were doing. And he would offer BJJ, and a bunch of the schools that came from that in Buffalo actually had come through actually a bunch of the black belts in Buffalo had come through our program one way or another. I've done Dakiti Tertia, Kuntao, Sikaran. Like I said, I've had access to multiple jiu-jitsus out there. And I've done a seminar wise, which doesn't count for much, but it's at least the martial art buffet. I've pretty much had access to all the. I mean, I've done a bunch of SEAL, but I mean, like, I've seen it all for the most part, at least from the families. Like, I haven't seen every style of kung fu, but I've seen kung fu. I've seen ninjutsu. I've seen jujitsu. I've seen multiple lineages of Aikido, Capoeira, and all this other. I mean, I can go through a list. I don't consider that my training. I consider that me going to the buffet and sampling. Kempo karate is a big one because I was a guest instructor at a lot of them and stuff. So, hey, okay, Datu Tim. P. Presas told me about his locking technique, Filipino. He also has cranked on me for 10 minutes demonstrating yeah. Okay.
Remy P. Remy Jr.
Yeah, it's P. Presas. Yeah.
Yep.
I would say as far as the dance of pain goes, if he copied his father, I'm going to say if he copied his father, it's not Filipino. It's not Filipino because the Filipinos doing it. Let's be blunt about that. People are sloppy with their words. I'm over specific because people have always tried to trick me and catch me in things that I didn't say, and take a sentence out of perspective. So I'm very specific on what I say because I'm trying to shut that door down so things are done. But I find it very hard to believe that he would have had access to an authentic Dumag program. Most likely he copied his father's videos. And so he came over to the States in early 80s. He's over in the States for 20 years before Remy died. So that's 80. He wasn't doing any training after Remy died. He flew back to, he flew back with Remy's body and then trained with Riddell de Guck. And they tuned him and they decided to go in the martial arts then. And then, and I don't, Rodell didn't do all those locks and controls like that. So I'm pretty sure he just copied the videos. But hey, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, there's the background too. Is it's very clear before Remy came here, he had, he liked the grabs. Of course, he had disarms, right? And disarms are based on releases and lock work built in. But I know if you talk to anybody, the old schoolers, and I'm speaking for them, even though I wasn't there. As Remy played more and more with Wally, right? Things changed about how he was doing locks and the flow and everything. It was very, very obvious for anybody who was there at the time watching Remy absorb like an amoeba. Anything that you showed him, he made it his own, and then it became, if he liked it and made it work for him, which was easy for him, then it was part in there. But he and Wally bounced off each other all the time, from what I hear. And it's very, very clear in the movements. That said, you can also make the case that, hey, bodies only move certain ways. So joint work is inherently, in most martial arts. My chin na is invariably messed up by all the stuff I've done with Remy, to the extent that, hey, I can point to where it's in my Kung Fu forms, but I can also tell you the feel is because of crossing his Remy so many times.
And Hombre, how you doing, sir?
Aranya.
Let's go, Datu. Nice. Let's go. Hey, listen, we're planning on going to Cebu in February. We're going to go to Manila and then go to Cebu. So love to meet. If we already met with people, love to see them again. Looking to hang out with new groups and all this other stuff.
We'd like to meet Mr. Spider-Man there.
There we go. It's already back. They removed it from the renovation and relocated. Okay. The road's still facing the same direction. Okay. Still more spacious to train. Yeah. Compared to before. Cool. Yeah, because I was there in July and it was not up. So, or actually, I got home at the beginning of August. They were reconstructing something, but it was not fully done. So obviously this must have been something. And
we can redo some of our old pictures.
Yeah, there we go. Darren, how you doing? Looking forward to seeing you next weekend.
Darren, yes.
Tim Dobson, how we doing? So, see, Tim got here in the right time today.
Excellent.
He got the memo. Okay, so we both have had a diverse background. A lot of different things we've done. Okay, there we go. Oh, hey, so I'm in Makati, minding my own business, waiting for my grab. And out of the blue, how you doing, Tim? Here's Dan Logan standing in front of me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Small world. I was at a club. I was, getting some drinks with some people. And all of a sudden, good day, mate. And there's Andy Elliott there too.
Nice.
Same day. I'm like, what the hell? Every time I turn around, I'm like, and then, hey, Marty, how you doing, sir?
Very good.
So, hey, Dan, where are you in Florida? People were asking, are you near Palm Beach County? Because there's somebody looking for classes.
Or do you know people if they're not?
Or do you know anybody? Yeah.
See, we're networking already. Helping people out.
All the time. So, all right. So, LOL. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay.
So he is down there. Okay.
Mandola's been. What's that? Is that someone down in that area?
Those I don't know. Selling something.
Okay, Carl. I literally found 4 videos. I bought from Blockbuster Video. Never heard his gentleman. Avanculo. Oh yeah, he's a big Ishinru guy.
And Eric Naus, top dog.
Oh yeah, and Giovanni was with him. Yeah, Giovanni was with Andy. So yeah.
Okay.
Fort Myers. Yeah.
So he's near Fort Myers. Okay.
Okay, so if anyone's looking for lessons in Fort Myers, look up Dan the Man Lohman.
Yep. Definitely.
So all right, let's get to this. So.
Yes, back to why the heck Modern Arnis for us.
Yeah, and I want to go this because this is one of my. I'm going to spoil one of my social media videos. It goes back to why I, could I do if I had to choose between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and FMA, which one I would choose? I would choose Filipino martial arts but I don't have to make the choice. I get to do both. But what I'm looking for in a martial art is more stand-up. What I'm looking for is more self-defense oriented. We already discussed this a little earlier. You know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is well, it's a Brazilian flair of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, but it was made to be a sport. End of story. Oh, okay. You're asking about Remy Presas, Senior. So,
yes.
That's
what I was describing with my diatribe.
Yeah. So, are you saying that originated from Small Circle? Yes. Well, okay. Here's what I'm going to say. Remy did a lot of stuff, but he also did judo and I'm going to say he got it from the Japanese systems, and then he got it from the Japanese systems, and then he hung out with Wally, and it took it to the next level. You know, so yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Boom on that one. As far as this goes, I wasn't made. Well, it came from judo, which was a sport. They may have tried, the Gracies may have tried to put stuff into it, but unfortunately, due to the UFC, they turned it back into whatever it was. I mean, it's obviously a sport because of the UFC. And unfortunately, most schools that teach it as a sport. Now, I know a lot of schools out there, Professor Jerry's one of them, going back to, okay, so BJJ is the floor element of judo. That's where they got it from. Why didn't they do the throws? Because they didn't have tatami mats. Makes sense. So what is judo? It was a sport version of jiu-jitsu. It's when you're coming. So who taught them was learning the sport. It's hard to put that the combatives in when they weren't there. I mean, obviously they can modify it, but it was still done as a sport. Kind of like if you do sport karate, trying to make it more street, you could, but it's still not the same because it was done in that sport karate mindset. It wasn't taught in its street defense options. Now, can a trained fighter do better on the street? Sure as heck they can. But the strategies and the tactics, it might not be the same. And the problem we see with jiu-jitsu, actually I saw, who's the karate geek? What's his name again?
And Jesse Inkamp.
Jesse did a video. He stopped into one of the Gracies and actually did an interview and was like, yeah, a lot of the Gracies or a lot of the jiu-jitsu players out there, he said, did they lose their way? It's like, well, a lot of them focus on sports. So it's not losing the way per se, but that goes back to the Gracies. Who started that? Yep, Jesse. Yep. Unfortunately, the Gracies, whether you like it or not, because of the UFC, it's put jiu-jitsu on a trajectory. And a lot of people think, oh, if you're going to be a fighter in the UFC, this is the way to go. And when you go to a gym like that, they're really not teaching you street combatives. Not that it can't work in the street, but I mean, do you really want to pull guard in the street? There's that ultimate. So they had this own version of the Ultimate Fighter where they took a bunch of karate guys and MMA guys, and they fought on a bus against each other, and they had knife attacks and all this other stuff.
Those were pretty cool, yeah.
So the BJJ guy pulls guard. He goes back there, and it's like, okay, he survived the event. They tried to survive the event, but at the end of the day, his legs got stabbed and slashed to hell. So maybe he may or may not have. Well, he survived the round, but he would have bled out, and that portion wasn't in there per se. So I'm going to deal with the knucklehead real quick.
Yep. That's fine. Let's see. I'm going to move on to Preacher Man says we were wondering if he had Aikido background or Chin Remy. So I know that Remy had some high ranks in Shotokan Karate and Judo, so he'll be familiar with certainly throwing and punching and kicking and those kinds of things. As far as the small joint work, not so much. Anything along those lines. However, right? Shotokan, at least in its roots, has all the Okinawa karate and would have then all the Tweety stuff, all that joint lock stuff as well. Although I don't see it a whole lot in most of the Shotokan I've seen. Don't get me wrong, I haven't trained Shotokan. I do have some friends that do it. But that's just what I've seen. Let's see. John Jones, Jesse S. Camp. John Jones, I for sure agree that guard pulling is a very bad thing to do in the street, for sure. BJJ is great, but without takedowns and throws, is a lot less effective. Okay. A funny comment from That's Mud. I'll let you guys look at that. And Rob Bear Badia says, "Hi, Gon. Hi, guys. Hi, John. Excellent." I was going to throw another thing too in there since Datu pointed out some of the arts he's trained since doing Modern Arnis. I'll add some of those as well. I have a fair bit of work in Blintwalk, no rank. I have a fair bit of work in Okinawa Kabuto, no rank, and lots of different styles of Mantis and a few other things like that. I did train some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a little while until I found out that, hey, if you have hip dysplasia, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not a good thing for you unless you want to be basically in a joint lock just from being in guard or just from being in mount. Fun stuff. Anyway, so there's some background perspective there, and as Tim said, he pointed out he's working on his purple eventually in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. But yeah, we've played with lots of. That's one of the things that I like about this, and Modern Arnis kind of set this up for me, is all of the cross exposure that was encouraged because of all who was doing it. And I'll get to that when I get to some of the reasons I think Modern Arnis is cool. But
listen, like John, I'm gonna talk to John here. Like, listen, I love BJJ. I really, and when I first, here's the cool thing. So when the UFC first hit, there wasn't there was no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. There was nothing. So when we would all roll with each other, it was no holds barred. So I would go with these guys, and a bunch of my guys did private lessons and all this other stuff. And I would tap them out on a regular basis. And they got frustrated with me. And they went to me like, how the hell are you doing this? You don't practice. You don't do this. You don't do that. But they didn't understand something. So I'm like, listen, I've done this longer than you. No, you haven't. I go, no, listen. I've been doing stand-up jitsu at that time for 16 years. Day one, when I learned Modern Arnis, I learned wrist locks and throws. It's all in Modern Arnis. Doesn't matter where it came from because Remy put it in. But it does when we're talking about whether its origins are Filipino or not. Remy created the synthesis, and this is what appeals to Ty and I. So, admittedly, things come from different things, and some things had influences outside the Philippines. So I'd be in someone's guard, and I'd tap mount. They'd be in the mount. I would tap mount. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's like simple. I'm doing all my stand-up locks from a horizontal base. All the moves I was doing were made illegal. Now, I don't know the current status of the rules because I don't spar in their tournaments, but I'm looking at once my shoulder, the surgery, and once the doctors give me the green light, which total rehab's about 18 months. So I don't know. Who knows? So I would like to get back into that, but I don't know if that's going to happen, if I'd be able to spar at a tournament or not, due to just the dynamics of that, But the thing here is, at the time, everything was legal. So I would do heel hooks, wrist locks, and all this other stuff. Now, I was talking to Brock, Brock. He and I we didn't go back and forth. We had a dialogue. And he was informing me, oh, no, these things are now legal now. But for a while, they were made illegal. Now, why does someone make something illegal? Well, maybe to keep above somebody else. I remember Judo started getting rid of putting your arm somewhere on your opponent's body because that's what jiu-jitsu or BJJ people would do. So they're trying to eliminate them coming in their tournaments and winning. Chuck Norris brought over a bunch of Thai fighters. Well, Chuck Norris's people were losing. So in the first match, so the second match, they said, okay, no elbows. Third match, no knees. And finally, the Thai fighters got screwed. You're handcuffing us. You're changing the goalposts. So finally, Saxon Janjira lit people up, and they started throwing chairs in the ring. I actually saw the video of the match, and I know Saxon because he's good friends with Ron Browning, and we've taught together. So, but like I said, back in the day, when it was all fair, I loved it. I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great. The BJJ, the Gracies were great pioneers doing no-gi grappling for Japanese stylists, but we know that existed long before then with pancration, Greco-Roman wrestling, and stuff of that nature. They weren't the ones to invent it. Well, I mean, and you know what? And we talk about this. There's multiple cultures had archery without knowing each other. Multiple cultures had boats without had so it wasn't like every time, some technology you can trace where it started and how it spread. Others, I mean, look, you got two different sets of pyramids. You got the Mayan, which are very blocky. You got the Egyptian, which are very smooth. Obviously, it's the difference between the gray and the green aliens. But that's another topic. We can talk about that.
There you go.
And we can even do an episode about Xenu, but that's another story. That's an inside personal joke. But I give the Gracies credit for what they did.
Absolutely. Phenomenal
infomercial. The only downside on their tournament, they picked all the fighters, they set all the brackets, and they never fought the people. They never fought the best of the best. They didn't fight strikers that were on the same tier as the Gracies were with their grappling. They didn't fight the likes of a Tyson and stuff like that. They, and a lot of the guys that they fought were nobodies. The only real guy there was Dan Severance. He slipped through the cracks. But I mean, Harold Howard, who Gracie bowed out to, who acquaintance of mine, he was just, even though his school is jiu-jitsu, he was a sport karate guy. And his guys were champions in sport karate, not full contact fighting. But hey, whatever. So, okay.
I think we're getting, well, remember I was just trying to remind everybody the show is talking about, why Modern Arnis, and it's okay to, go sidetrack, but I'm thinking actually it'd be a good time to loop back if that's okay.
Yeah. I pull fingers when my pants are okay. Okay. Hi, Rob. How you doing? Or John. Hi, guys. Hi, John. Who's John? Must be somebody. Oh, John Jones. Okay.
Yep.
That's not the John Jones, is it?
Right, from Mars.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I respect BJ's report, but seeing the night encounter and Tondo, a bunch of people. Yeah. Right. Yep. This is, listen, it's got a lot of good stuff there. It's got a lot of great stuff there. And like anything, Ty and I, we've worked in police academies. And a lot of the stuff that we do as martial artists cannot be applied the way they're doing it. I worked with the Armored Combat League. I've got acquaintances in there. I've helped train a good guy, Max Will, is doing very well. He's winning. And I remember when I first met the guys, and we're going back and forth talking about techniques, and I tried to do some of our Filipino disarms to them. It wouldn't work because of the context that they're doing two-handed weapons, the size, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't work. And we have to understand what works in what realms. Mm-hmm. And that's the big thing. So all of us martial artists have stuff that will work in certain venues and not in others. So, hey, Datu. Mm-hmm. What makes Modern Arnis unique? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Right. What techniques are unique to Modern Arnis? We'll talk about that. Let me just get caught up and sure. Let's see here. Okay, thank you. Always curious. Appreciate the saved my bacon.
That was about the question about what Remy's background. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I think the reason the Gracie dominated. Also, okay. Oh, look at that! I happen to say that without even knowing that. There you go.
Right.
$100 in a tree. Okay, that's one of that. Okay. Preacher man, my masters haven't done a Shotokan, and
because Remy's background, right?
Karate. Yeah. Oh, definitely. That was probably okay. Talking about Modern Arnis. And this is one of the reasons. One of the biggest influence on Remy's art was Shotokan, not from a technical point, but from a structure.
Yep.
Belts, uniforms, forms.
Yep.
He looked at what karate had that Arnis didn't have.
Applications.
Karate had stuff. Karate was more popular in the Philippines than its own indigenous art. And this was after World War II. How does that make sense? The Japanese beat the crap out of them. And then they decided, and they didn't win. And they decided to do Japanese martial arts. And I actually want to talk about the judo, the legitimacy here after I get caught up. I step in mud. Here we go. Mike Tyson in First UFC own eating.
Ear Dumog.
There you go. Keep
Awesome.
spreading FMA. Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we will be in the Philippines in February. So if you're in Manila or Cebu, we'd love to meet with people who are interested. We'd love to meet our fans and supporters out there. Okay, so here's a question I have. I wonder how legitimate their martial arts training actually is in the foreign arts. Because here's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying they're not legitimate martial artists, but maybe, I mean, how much might they be missing, considering that the Japanese lost, they didn't win. How much did they truly share afterwards? Did they hold things back? I mean, George Dillman from his Raikyu Kempo talks about that all the time. Well, do you think he shared all that stuff? Did they get complete systems, or did they get bits and pieces and then try to make stuff from there off of those bits and pieces? Inquiring minds want to know. I mean, did Japanese move there and started teaching, or how did the Filipinos get access to that knowledge?
Right. I don't know. That would be interesting to find out. But I mean, typical, right? In that kind of situation, you might imagine that people would hold things back. I'm not saying they did, but it's unfortunately way too common to hold things back. My idea is, look, I want to get you really, really good so I can have someone good to work with. And then the last thing I want to do is hold back because then that just makes the art get whittled away. But whatever. So where do we want to start with as far as, going with, what attracted us to Modern Arnis? I've got a couple ideas.
Well, I'll tell you what attracted me based on my age and my experience at the time. Because remember, this is my first art. I was a partial artist. I studied in the backyards with a bunch of my friends. I had real world experience. These guys actually were enrolled in martial arts schools. So I didn't have that. But day one, he put a weapon in my hand. I mean, and I'm a teenager. What teenager doesn't like the idea of stick, knife, and sword fighting?
Sure.
I don't have to wait to be a black belt to do weapons. Come on, stop it. And, growing up watching all these movies, they're all kung fu movies back then. Those are the big ones.
Well, for me, I along the same lines, right? So in my kung fu, we did have weapons forms, but I can tell you all of our techniques and, applications and those kind of stuff were really pretty much drilled for the empty hand set. So we didn't really explore our weapon material other than maybe some two-man sets that we had. And I, loved the idea of Arnis jumping right in and doing that same work with a weapon in your hand. It was great. So more of that. That's along the same lines. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing I'm going to talk about. Hold on one second. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. A lot of styles say they teach weapons. And I'm going to disagree with that. What I'm going to say is a lot of styles teach weapon forms.
Yep. Not the same.
And they don't do the bunkai, the application. It would be different. I mean, here we go. Let's talk. Okay, Isshinryu at one time was probably the biggest trained martial art in the States because the Marines brought it back from Okinawan. They learned in 8 to 16 months. How much did they really learn? The black belts were most likely more honorary black belts than anything else. And I doubt very much that the Japanese ever thought that any American was going to come home and open up a dojo. Hey, Craig. So, yeah. Okay, and then Godzilla Jitsu, they're hiding. Okay, so by today's standards, we would call these guys all McDojos and BS schools, for getting a black belt in such a short period of time and all this other. Now, a lot of these guys, they dedicated themselves to training, and they became really top-tier martial artists down the road, But we didn't have the means. It's not like today where you can do a Zoom class with somebody. We didn't have the internet back then to look online for forums and all this other. They had absolutely nothing. So a lot of martial arts back then probably had huge holes in it. So when people teach weapon forms, what are they doing? They're going through the motions. Most likely they don't sit there. And that's a cool thing about what we do, because we have a system of training. And it's not just Modern Arnis, Filipino martial arts. But I will say this. I don't feel that I don't think, if we're talking about Filipinos from the islands, I don't know of anyone who is as organized in their head as Remy was.
Mm-hmm.
Remy taught progressions. Even though he would read the room and make a decision on the fly what he would teach.
Mm.
But I do that all the time. And I know you do that all the time. We have a game plan.
Mm.
Like, we're going to teach this topic. Okay, let's see. Everyone start off with this. And then you look like, okay, I cannot go any faster. Okay, or, oh, they already know this. Let's go to lesson 2 real quick.
And he would read the room at multiple levels, right? Because he would find ways to teach people that knew more the same time he was teaching people that were just picking it up.
So Paul O'Grady popped in. He's now back in the club. He's from the class of 98, which is awesome. That was when he got his Lacan, and he stayed. He went Lacan, he went Isa. He's also got second degree. Went up to the progression. Okay, so lo and behold, he comes in and he's telling a story. I love it because now he can validate all my stories. Because and he talks about how him and Janice went up to see Remy over at Janet Alf's. And the two of them were taught a completely different seminar than everyone else in the room. Because they were struggling with single Sinwali. Like, oh, you know this. Come here. Go like this. And Remy would teach them and then walk over. Does this sound familiar, Ty?
Absolutely, yes.
So
great stuff. He was a master at that. And that always, I mean, I learned a lot of teaching watching him.
Yeah. So, he really, he could read that room, switch as he needed to.
Yep.
And he made everyone feel special. I mean, that was part of that there,
Yep.
Let me see here. Okay, so hello from Puget Sound.
Oh, awesome.
What's up?
Very good.
All right, and then absolutely love the content. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
And I appreciate your devotion to Grandmasters Monterey's. Thank you. Awesome. So when I train all these, I'm the heretic. I am the troublemaker. I am everything bad about Modern Arnis according to the others. or I'm doing stuff and no one has the backbone to ask me why I'm doing the things I'm doing. Or it's just better for them to say, Tim's this, because it actually puts the spotlight on them in a positive way versus talk about what Tim's really doing. I got into Balintwalk as per professor's wishes to look at one of the systems that added to the creation of the art. And I went in there with the idea, I mean, Remy put me in there to do R&D work with him, pull this material back because Modern Arnis has a lot of it in there. And here we go. Maria, how you doing?
Hey.
That's that CA is Canada, not California.
Right.
Greetings. Maganda gabi. So a lot of people, they would see me doing different things. And the other thing too is I would do stuff and I would use, so Remy taught American terms. Some things had specific Filipino names that he used. Okay, that's fine. But I was actually I was referencing stuff. I go, oh, look, Remy's doing the flow, which is the cruzada motion. He was doing a gunting, but he called it the flow. So I would start using more of the traditional names because I understand part of what we do is to get seminars and do stuff is that marketability. And to also explain to others, oh, you guys don't do this. So yeah, we call it's right here. It's right here. It's right here. So yeah, we just Remy had different ways of calling it. Just let me see where we are here. Chuck Norris said when he broke his foot and saw karate, would not let him until he's judo. Okay, dealing with Korean. Okay, yeah. I'm a self. What is that? My glasses
admitted, probably. I'm thinking, no, I think he might have did a typo, but it probably is the self-admitted student.
Wardens.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. We like Dr. Kelly.
We like Kelly.
Yep.
He and I butted heads, but we're all part of the family.
Right. Good stuff. And
more.
Okay.
Okay.
And there we go. Maria goes, miss you guys. Miss you.
Yep. Yeah, we miss you too, Maria.
I had to tell you, I'll add another thing here. We just talked about weapons and weapons in your hand earlier. One of the things I noticed coming from Kung Fu was in Kung Fu, right? A lot of times they'll approach it, hey, you train it perfectly and it will work. And I really love the other perspective, which is, hey, make it work better and better, and that automatically makes it more perfect. And so it helped round out my approach, and having somebody skilled as Remy to do that and help guide me with that was just, that was all it took. And so I was hooked. But there's a bunch of other things like that too, but I just wanted to touch upon that one.
No, that's excellent. Yeah, I think, like I said, the hook for me, put a weapon in my hands day one. That was a huge hook. Dr. Tim, you and I were from the same background. I felt the exact same way. Oh, I can't put that in. When I was introduced to Modern Arnis, it was a dream come true. It's been a joy ever since. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, that was a huge thing, like right off the bat, because no school was going to do that. But the other thing is that a big part of Modern Arnis is going with the flow. Mm-hmm. And, and here's the thing. Modern Arnis is a codified system with 3 books, and then one of the books have, and several of the books, 2 of the books have multiple different colored covers representing whether it's English or Tagalog and all this other stuff. But really, it's 3 books and 25 videos. It is a very codified system. Mm-hmm. Most people didn't dedicate themselves to learn the entire art. They learned it as an add-on. Okay. The art within your art. But it was there. And Remy had a structure. And from that structure, he would show you how to innovate. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, it's all innovate. No, it's not all innovate.
Right. You
cannot innovate without structure. Otherwise, it's called chaos. You have to have a form. You innovate off of something. Remy had structure, and it wasn't the art within your art because they didn't teach it that way in the Philippines. They just taught the art. It's just that it was a good way to market people, to get them to come to his seminars and stuff of that nature. And then people put stick programs in their schools and all this other stuff. So it was a good marketing thing overall. But at the end of the day, he would go with the flow and teach you structure and then show you how to innovate to make it your own if you want it. Now, I got 2 people here. Actually, I'm going to jump to this one. Ron Saturno, how the hell are you doing?
Nice.
Ron, I am not going to be there. I was planning on being there. I had surgery a month ago on Saturday, and I am not cleared to fly for a few months because they're worried about blood clots and stuff of that nature. So I'm off the flying list for a while. I think the first time I'm flying is February when we go to the Philippines. I might go in January down to DC, working on that. Not sure, but I will not be there. Definitely, I'm planning on being there next year, and I'm planning on coming up to California for something else. So definitely, maybe we can meet up. Boom. I started to learn Arnis from you, and I am thankful that I found your page and TikTok channel as well.
Cool.
Oops. I don't think that might have been the best thing there, the TikTok channel. I love it. Okay. Demerited, resigned.
I see. Okay. You're staying active and you're still training alone. Awesome. Good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, keep it up.
And he says, hi, hello. That's how I started.
Right.
I was originally there we go. And Ron, I love your commentary. Heal quickly. Thank you. Salamat.
Nice.
Ron, for those who don't know Ron Saturno, and Ron, we'd love to have you on the show sometime if you ever have the time. Ron is one of the top Serrata guys out on the West Coast.
Mhm.
So love to get your take on Serrata and your involvement with it, your history. We haven't had any. I don't think we've had any Serrata people on officially the show. But I'm not sure. We've had a lot of people on. It's kind of hard to keep track of everybody.
That's right. No, it's good. So I like what you said about the adaptability and making your own as far as the the flow guiding that. I was gonna pull on that thread too because that's on one of my lists of things that I appreciated. And so we talked about having a stick in your hand and making stuff work and contact immediately, right? And applications and adaptability. To me, all of that stuff goes together. But if you notice the idea of applying something, the idea of adapting to make stuff work, the whole point behind things is as you work on your materials, you work on the things that you're adapting with, there's the touchstone of making it work, right? There's a touchstone, is it effective? And so you flow from one thing to another, not because you can flow to any old thing, but you learn how to flow into things that work and are self-consistent with all of the rest of your opportunities that you've trained into yourself. So to me, that's a touchstone to a guiding principle for how things should be adapted, right, and expanded, and applications should be developed. So anyway, I loved the way he set us up for that. Was just awesome.
So and let's talk about that too. Effectiveness is a big part of why we do this. The cool thing was it wasn't just Remy.
Right.
Listen, I'm going to sit there and call it the way I see it, and people don't have to agree with me, and I have no problem agreeing to disagree. Okay. The people I crossed hands with, Remy was a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Remy grew up in the streets. Remy fought for Anshan Bakan. Not fought him, fought for Anshan Bakan. Yep. And then when I asked about Anshan, could you take Anshan? When he said, "Oh, no way!" I'm like, without even batting out, which makes me wonder how effective of a fighter Anshan Bakan was, because Remy wouldn't even think about going up against him. So not only did Remy make it work, and the thing here is this: no one that I know of did the quantity of seminars with Remy that Remy did. So what made him good is that he crossed hands with more people than anyone else. And he didn't have, like some people, they bring their partner with them everywhere they go. There might be a condition on showing up. I love it when you come on the road with me, or Chad or Craig or somebody comes on the road and hangs with me, because then I have someone that I'm in tune with so I can show some higher level stuff. But when I pull people up to help me do stuff, I got to be on point, because if I'm not on point and they're random with their attacks, I got to be ready to block anything. And I also know I have to show it to work. I don't want to say I have to light people up. I have to make them believers, which also means they may be swinging at a level that I'm not comfortable with at a regular basis, but I got to step it up and do that. That's what made Remy good. And then his people, us being two of them, could pull the moves off ourselves, because he didn't do things that were overly sophisticated. He did stuff that worked, and the thing is, when we talk about the comparative styles and all this other stuff, one of the, everyone always says, "Oh, if it's so good, why isn't it in the UFC?" Because that's a sport. Oh, but you're saying it doesn't work in the street. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Not the way you're doing it. The fact of the matter here is, what will work. The most important thing wasn't that could Remy make it work. It's what the masses, the UFC, the thing I talked about was the UFC fighters do not represent the norm. When we're comparing styles and all this other stuff, what does the average jiu-jitsu person, the average MMA fighter, the average Arnis player, the average karate and taekwondo person, how would they all interact? And I tell you, when it comes to that, I think they're on a fairly even playing field. The only downside is if you've never been on the ground and a jiu-jitsu person takes you down, or a judoka of equal level, if you've never trained on the ground, that you're out of your element. I'll give you that. But the thing here is, I've had grapplers come in and they couldn't get near us because we punched and kicked them in the face. You know, I've knocked grapplers out unintentionally because they lead with their face. You know, and we're talking style versus style, not someone. Oh, listen, well, I've cross trained in this, that, and other thing. Okay, great, because now you're doing MMA. Good for you. You realize that there was problems in your art. It was insufficient, and you went to the places to make it more complete. Boom, done. Just like I did with Modern Arnis. Modern Arnis doesn't have a good ground game. That's why I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the fact that I enjoy wrestling. Okay, let me get caught up here.
Sure.
Johnson, I am using Kamagong type of wood of Arnis as and the standard training type of Arnis. Arnis, do you think it's okay if we use both of them for training? I would not use Kamagong to hit people with. I would do it during forms, twirling, and stuff of that nature. Sure. I don't even know if I'd want to hit a target with Kamagong. I know the hardwoods have a tendency of doing reverberation. You might get a little tendonitis, so you might want to rethink that. But swinging in the air, solo training of that nature, swinging and hitting with control, all day long. I think. What do you think about that?
You do. I think you need to be familiar with it, but I don't think you need to make it chronic.
Okay, cool. All right, and Carl, Maganda Gabi.
¿Cómo está?
So I'm hoping if you're in the Philippines, Maganda Umaga.
Right.
So for those who don't know, Maganda Gabi is a wonderful evening. Maganda Umaga, wonderful morning. So we're on the East Coast in the States. Currently, the Philippines is 12 hours ahead of us. And then when daylight savings times, it'll be 13 hours ahead of us. Hey, Datu. Boom. What's your favorite Modern Arnis drill? Let me think about that for a minute. Let me see. Instead of Eric, I'll get Eric Estrada. We could do that from Chips.
Nice.
There we go. We have to adapt the art. Okay, yep. Sure. Watching from the Philippines. Maganda Umaga. Yes.
There we go. Yep.
There we go. He got us. He got us. Thank you, Dre. Salamat.
Carl says he practices Modern Arnis since 9 years old, which is I love hearing that.
Nice. Well, it says Arnis. Is it modern or is it another?
Arnis. Sure.
Okay. So, okay, what's my favorite Modern Arnis drill? If we're talking open hands, it's all about trapping hands, Decadina. Decadina being the chaining or linking back and forth.
Sure.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's an obvious one for the empty hand. But you can
transitions are good too, even though they're not, as we talked about, their origins.
Or the Sinaloa boxing, right? Or the
Okay.
Or the Cruzada flow drill empty hand, which I prefer not empty hand, but whatever.
Yeah.
But overall Modern Arnis drill, here I got one for you.
Here we go, Ryobi. There's another one.
Exactly.
I'm more of a Makita kind of guy.
There you
go. Is your open hand favorite context amount? Okay. Is empty hand your favorite context amount? So
it's a big piece.
We'll get back to that in a minute. So I'm going to say my open hand. All right. So what's your favorite? Okay, we did open hand. What's your favorite other drill?
My favorite Modern Arnis other drill is very simple. It's back to basics, man, which is striking styles for block check counter, striking styles and follow-ups. I think everybody should probably do a lot more of that.
And I don't know if those are drills or just we should be practicing our fundamentals.
Right. So you should drill them. How's that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Sombrata. Now there's been mixed reports about Sombrata.
Right.
Remy calls it 6-count drill. And then he did a 10-count version with which. So I gave it a name as there is your basic. I used the term Sombrata. Another reason why people thought I wasn't doing Modern Arnis because I would use the Filipino terms versus the English terms.
Okay.
So we do the basic 6-count. And then we also I did 2 10-counts. One was an Abanico variant, which I did not get from Remy. And then there was the thrusting version, which Remy did. Actually, I saw the Inasano one first, which is more than 10-count because he puts extra moves in there.
Right.
But I would do the Sunkiti version, the thrusting version.
Yep.
And then he had some freestyle stuff that I wish to God I was able to video back then when he was doing it. So that's that. I actually enjoy Sombrado drill quite a bit.
Yep.
But Remy was moving way for the tappy.
Right.
I don't want to say tappy because everyone I've become the anti-tappy person. Actually, I started showing people how to counter all their moves because you should be thinking about that. But I would look for because of the Balintuak. Okay, if you know Balintuak and modern, both styles can counter the other.
Mm-hmm.
That's a two-way direction. It's not Remy didn't create modern to beat Balintuak. That's nonsense because he loved Balintuak people. He loved it. Remy had his own personal fighting style to beat everybody except for Anshan.
Right.
And he probably wanted to be able to beat Anshan, but he was like, no, he's too good. He's just too good. But so let me okay. I know Sombrado can be done open or not. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Or study Gaga or so many things, yeah.
If you had 1 to 2 months to teach someone in Modern Arnis for self-defense, what would you teach them? We'll get back to that because some of these questions are tied in. Can you speak the similarities of Modern Arnis to other styles? For example, I've seen similar from karate. Okay, we can talk about that.
We also have to answer that other question about what's unique to Modern Arnis. So
what is tappy and who doesn't know Balintuak? Wait.
For someone who doesn't know Balintuak. Well, tappy isn't a term from Balintuak.
Striking and blocking, yes. Basic strikes. Okay, so okay. Still haven't answered my question.
Your favorite? No, you did say.
I like Sombrado. I really do like tappy,
mm-hmm.
But I just don't like that some people that's all they do and they don't. There's so much more to it. So
I like it a lot. It's overemphasized,
but
it's just another great drill.
So once again, modern and Balintuak, they both can defeat each other, providing the player knows how they both work. You can't counter something you don't know how it works. So, so I actually like taking the tappy to the next level, which is researching the Balintuak roots. So doing Abecedario, Seguidis, Carreras. So if you knew the Remy's Modern Arnis and added the ungroup methodology into that, you would have tappy plus or tappy plus.
Right. And so to answer the question of what is tappy, literally it translates to counter, right?
Tappy,
the whole idea is countering.
Yeah.
Back and forth, right? So it's just a high level drill, but you need those basics to do that drill, right? If you don't have the basics, you will get stuck in a rut.
So basically, for those who don't know, I'll try to explain it. Let's see if it works. We have 12 specific angles of attack. They are the same as Balintuak, taught in a slightly different order.
Mm-hmm.
You would strike the person. And in Abecedario, I would strike in numerical order. Mm-hmm. They would block and come back to the head because it's a controlled drill. So I would go in numerical order. I would feed you a strike and you come back to my head. Feed you another strike, come back to my head, so on and so forth.
And Remy even called that Abecedario with his own striking pattern.
Right. Yep. If you did that same drill randomly fed, so I'm still feeding the 12 angles of attack, but I'm doing it in a random order, and you're still blocking coming back to the head. That's called Seguidis. That's the level 2 of Balintuak. And that is what Remy taught as tappy. And then he'd put insert. He didn't go deep. It was Balintuak light. But and listen, when I say this, people, it was
put a ton of inserts in there. Yeah.
It was simplified Balintuak. I actually used the term watered down Balintuak once, and someone got offended. I'm like, dude, you didn't do the whole thing. Stop it. You only played. He put sprinkling in there, And then when other Modern Arnis people said, "Oh, I do Balint walk," well, when? Oh, we do tappy tappy. Stop it! You didn't. No, you didn't. You got a little Balint walk spice. You didn't get the whole thing.
Right.
So that would be what I would say is like the tappy tappy, and it's also 2 levels of Balint walk, and hopefully that answers that question. As far as what would I teach in 2 weeks or 2 months?
2 months, 1 to 2 months.
The angles of attack and block, check, counter. That's everything, because it also relates to open hand combatives.
I was going to say, and I put trapping hands in there, but yeah.
Well,
I think you do all of that.
And
it's the same thing. It's the
exact same thing. Block, check, counter is the weaponized version of trapping hands. Trapping hands is the unarmed version of block, check, counter.
And Sinawale is in there as well.
And there is a difference between the two.
Yep.
Subtle but important.
Yep.
So if that's all I had, and I would teach fundamentals, basic punching and kicking.
Yep.
So I do basic punching and kicking, do some kind of blocks. I would do the angles of attack because the open hands relate to the angles of attack. And then let's see, block, check, counter. I would do stick on stick, hand on stick, hand on hand. And I'd spar. I'd make sure there's sparring in there as well. And it would be rudimentary. They wouldn't have locks and throws. And listen, 2 months is not enough time to get locks and throws, unless they're and I'm going with the mindset of someone who had no training.
Right.
If someone had training, well, then I would teach them more stuff. I'd probably work some locks and throws from that. So.
And it's worth pointing out that Remy's love was to have his art expressed as either Filipino sport culture or, listen to it, hear it, self-defense, right? His whole focus was self-defense. So if we had longer than 1 to 2 months, everything else in Modern Arnis I would teach as well.
Yes. It's all going to be based on the quantity of time. Okay, so here we go. We've got...
that one, yes.
Similarities. Why don't you take that one?
Can you speak of similarities of Modern Arnis and other styles? For examples, I've seen similar hand flow in karate. That looks similar to, I've seen fairly some Okinawan drills that look very similar to, say, trapping hands, or even similar boxing drill, right? So Yakusuku Kumite is something, if you're a karate guy, traditional karate guy, you might know. Some of those are very similar. Got it. But guess what? We all have certain hands and elbows and limbs, right? So there's only so many ways you can do stuff. And if you want to put things into combinations, there's some obvious looking ones. Now the flavor will be very different. The flow might be different. The adaptations and applications might be very, very different. And you'll hear already, I want to touch back on this. You hear in our answers so far, a big part of why Modern Arnis was perfect for us is because when we crossed hands with Remy, we felt the skill. We felt that he was a fighter. We felt the experience. And that is all tied together with the material he taught for us. But as far as the similarities, right? I mean, the structure Tim alluded to before, right? There's the way he laid out the ranking structure and the delivery mechanisms for certain things. Definitely there's some similarities with karate, right? There are a lot of similarities, both built in because of people and built in because of what Remy saw, right? So not only Remy's background before he formed stuff, but also his constant eye. Tim pointed this a second ago too, or an hour ago probably. Remy probably taught more different kinds of people, different martial artists than anybody that I can think of, and absorbed every time. So if you were in his class and he was teaching you, he was watching you. And if there was something he liked or something that he adapted or something that helped him understand what he was already doing, I do this, then he marked that aside and worked with it. So that's a quick take. I can't really speak specifically because I don't know all the other styles in the world, but that's my take on why you might see some similarities. I don't know if Tim has anything to add.
Well, if you're trying to find out, if the question is, what does it look like? I would say, look at, think Kempo karate, like American Kempo, like Ed Parker. Splash some jiu-jitsu in there and throw sticks.
Right.
And that would be aesthetically what you'd be looking at. A lot of people say, look, Kempo, you're doing Arnis, man. You look like you're doing Kempo with sticks in your hands.
Right. Or Wing Chun.
A lot of times we look at the Kempo guys. Are you doing Arnis without sticks? So
right.
There's a similar movement, different approaches, but a similar flow to it. and also the lock. I mean, I tell people, what's another way of talking about modern Arnis? It's stick jitsu, because Remy would teach you how to lock someone up with and or without the weapon.
Right.
Whether you had one, whether they had them. Okay, so let's go here. Boom. What is Tappy Tappy? We already did that. Striking and blocking. Yep, back to basics. Always fundamentals. They work. What kind of impact weapon would you prefer as an everyday? So these are my everyday carry right here. So the problem we run into is not every system is robust as modern art. Some systems out there are truly weaponized systems only. No questions asked about it. Blintwalk is a perfect example. And I was a friend of mine actually made a comment. Well, Blintwalk has combat judo. No, it doesn't. But if one of, but the teacher might see. There's the difference.
Yep.
What Anshan created is different than what his students may be doing.
Yep.
And this goes back to my debates on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when the people say, "Oh no, we also do wrestling, we also do judo, we also do boxing," well, then what you're talking about is you're doing mixed martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have these things. And the reason why you're doing these other things, because it doesn't have these things. Mm-hmm. Just like, why am I doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Because Modern Arnis does not have a ground game. Remy tried to do a little of it, and I was never a big fan of what he did. And some of the guys, when we were developing our curriculum, when we were taking the curriculum to the next level, we started talking about this stuff. And like, well, what about doing this move from here? I'm like, if we're doing ground techniques, if we're not going to put a system to back up the move, I'm not putting a move in. I'm not going to do triangle choke to somebody if I'm not going to tell them how to get down there, how to shrimp, how to do the mount, the guard, the passing, the reversing. Just putting one move. I mean, it's fun for the kids to do, playing around, stuff like that. But I mean, you don't put people in an adult situation, and say, I'm going to do this move. I'm going to do Kimura. Yeah, but you're not teaching how to take a person down. You're not teaching the person how to defend against this. What happens when this fails? What happens? There's so many other things there. Okay, so let's go here. I actually don't know how to answer that question. I know about the Askal, Blintwalk, but I was told it's not related at all to Anshan, if I'm not mistaken. Which I don't know anything about. There's a different Blintwalk, which I'm trying to figure out, how do you get a different Blintwalk?
Right, since it was named after the street.
So unless there's something else out there, Blintwalk Eskrima was created by Anshan Bakon, and it was in the Blintwalk School of Self-Defense. It was a derivative of, wait for it, Doce Pares. So Anshan taught on Blintwalk Street, and that's how the name became. You're those Blintwalk guys. Okay, but it was the Blintwalk School of Self-Defense, which was stick tooling. Okay, so I don't know where the I actually talked to the daughter or the granddaughter. She was doing some graphic work. I lost track of her.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I'm like, I gotta get back. I'd love to get back and talk to them. And it's like, where do you get the word from?
Yep. That would be interesting.
If they say Blintwalk Street in Cebu, then I'm like, well, then you have to be Anshan, because but if they have a different story for it, I'd love to hear their origin.
And there have been modifications and branches, so
Yeah.
So it could be one of those.
Okay, here we go. Is Tappy Tappy's plus a straight? Okay, and I should have looked at who wrote that. Okay,
that's
right, Carl. It would be nice to combine classic and modern Arnis. So now here's the thing. That's the problem with modern Arnis. It is classic.
Yep.
The problem is Remy had a modern approach, which was blocking stick on stick. So when he did Blintwalk, because of the short range, he found out that short range forced a lot of stick on stick contact, which meant people weren't getting hurt as much and they could train longer. So he adapted that concept. It was a modern teaching concept. The art is classical. Yep. So when
all those striking styles we talk about, those have been around for, and some of them are complete subsystems by themselves.
And which shocked the hell out of me. So everyone would say, all right, let's do the striking style. So you do block check counter and into the double action abanico. You can do police, and then you can do the cruzado flow. You can do all that yeah. So you got all that stuff. When I went to Europe, we want to do the classical. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, the striking styles? And they go, well, yeah. I'm like, well, why do you guys call it the classical? Oh, because you can do it with a blade. Well, you could have done it. You could have done it with a blade the whole time. I can do block check counter with a blade. So I don't know what marketing gimmicks that the Filipinos used on them and what they've told or how much they got wrong, because I doubt very much. And here's the thing: Filipinos try to speak English. These guys, and then you've got Europeans, mostly Danish, Swedish, Finnish, German, Spanish, trying to speak English, trying to speak to a Filipino trying to speak English, and it doesn't always work well. So I'm not sure about how much of that goes there. So how much longer are you going to be
here? Who knows? We sometimes go really late.
Yeah.
Never can tell.
We're actually,
one should be next Monday, though. The next one should be next Monday.
Next week, Monday is the next show. If that's the question. And then we take a break for Christmas and stuff like that. So, all right, here we go. PG Ty, when did you start training with Grandmaster Presas? Good question.
I'll jump it. There's two things. I started Modern Arnis in '92, Guru Eric Alexander, and got passed up to Remy directly in '93, and was with him until he died. I was a personal student of his almost all of that time, largely because of how well Eric taught me. And I'm thankful for that every day. I wish it were longer, but that's what I got.
And I'm going to chime in, not to try to up him, but I will do it anyways. So I started in '85, and about in '87 I went directly with Remy. And I went to the Filipino Karate Academy, which was taught by the late John Bryant. It was a full-time Modern Arnis school. And then Ty and I's lineage got connected because Eric, his teacher, actually brought me out to do some work with him, because he liked the approach of doing it as a standalone. So I know Eric's commitment to the art was not the art within your art. It was the art. So, and when I asked him, like, of all the people you got out here, why would you bring me here? He goes, well, and I go, you got Richard Roy around the corner, who's retired, and Richard is a great guy. Well, he admittedly wants to put as much Tai Chi in as possible, and that's great for Richard, but we want to know what Remy's teaching, not what Richard is blending. I'm like, gotcha. So, take it to a mixed drink. Do you want like a rum and Coke, or do you want just rum? So let me see.
Carl,
how about Yan? Going to be used in MMA? Oh, actually, it's being used in MMA.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Pride Martial Art. Is it Pride One or something like that? One MMA or something like that. It's an Asian UFC basically, and they fight a lot of time.
I'm looking forward to seeing that Yaoyan school when we go over there.
We are going to Yaoyan school, so we're looking forward to that. My last night there in the Philippines, I think it was Coach Leon stopped by, gave me a Yaoyan shirt, adopted me into the group, which means absolutely nothing rank wise. They just said, hey, but we are going to visit his gym. Here's in Pasay near the Asian Mall. Okay. And hey, here's a good friend of ours, Rene Tongson. Maganda Umaga.
Maganda Umaga, GM Rene.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Bill Anderson.
Hey,
reading from the Philippines.
Lots of Philippines people here. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you go back to Guam, there we go. Do either of you feel that there is a non-cooperative spirit between Inasano, camp of FMA, and No.
Not between the camps.
No. I think that some of the people look down upon us because the art is named Modern Arnis. I think Ernesto had it on point. He called it Kombatan. It's a cooler name. I like my Asian martial arts Asian. I don't like American names put on it. And actually, we go by Presas Arnis,
right?
Because we represent the family systems. We don't focus on one brother over another.
Is this where I get to tell my story about modernizing Arnis?
There we go. Yeah. And we've been doing Presas Arnis officially since 2011. But we were talking about it beforehand. But go ahead, talk about you modern.
I was just saying. So yeah, it's that is funny, right? The name of it is not something that makes good naming over here in the States. Although in the Philippines, it sounds really, really cool. But I remember one of my old videos. Sorry, just a side thing. I have a ton of videos out there trying to just teach. Right, I'm not doing showing off, not doing demos. And I'm talking about Arnis and showing all of the stuff. And they're going, "Who are you to modernize Arnis?" And I'm like,
Well,
that
no,
was very, very strange.
okay, let me get a little better here.
Okay.
It was a Filipino in the islands complaining that Thai was modernizing their art, and it's like, moron. It was created by Remy Presas, and it was called Modern Arnis. So stop it.
That's right. It was funny. It made me laugh.
Well, it just goes to show you that a lot of the guys in the Philippines have no clue what they're talking about, and they don't do the research. But then again, that's the people around the world. They have no clue what they're talking about.
Humans,
they don't do the research.
Right? Humans.
You know,
anyway, let's keep going. We got, I think Vernon is the next
another
one.
month. Okay.
Oh, wait.
Okay. Oh, this one right here.
Oh,
okay,
you jumped down.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Knock, knock. X gonna get you.
All right, got it.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Any experience with traditional Japanese martial arts? Yes and no. So I was the minority in this town. I'm the only guy who does Filipino. There's 2 FMA programs in Buffalo. I'm the only school that's left. While Remy was alive, we had like 13 clubs at the same time. But right now, I'm the only dedicated school in the area. I was the minority. I would go to tournaments and seminars and all this stuff. I would interact. Actually, I've always been the most interactive person in the area, attending other people's events because I'm a martial art geek. I love this stuff. So I got to train in seminars and events of this nature, but I have not enough training that I'd be able to claim it on a resume. Although I surprise people with a lot of my knowledge, because if it's important to my friends, it's important to me to know about it, just so I can appreciate, get what they're doing and stuff like that. So Ty and I talk about his mantis all the time, and no matter what he tells you, it's not always mantis, because he's going to always say everything is mantis. So I'm doing a hoop type movement like this. He goes, "Oh, you're doing," and I think Craig and I sat there and go, "We're doing mantis," but like, hey, I want to know, like, no different than someone has a different religion or a different political party. I mean, listen, I'm undecided. I'm alone. I hate politics, but I will talk politics with people because I'm just a search for knowledge. It's not trying to be political. If you're from a different religion, I want to know about what you're doing. I'm just curious how the world works. And that's how, I mean, to me, I'm just like, hey, there's a seminar. Let me go check it out. That's cool. And I still, even to this day, I still attend seminars when I can. Shocks the hell out of people when they find out who I am.
Well, we do that when we're teaching at multi-style events. We'll join in on the other sessions if we can, if we're not teaching next. But yeah.
Okay. Okay, you read this. The next couple here. My eyes.
I think Mud has a couple good points here. You can tell a lot about a teacher, about how much his students talk about him and honor him, and everyone I have met in Arnis still respect and talks highly about him. I guess we're talking about Remy here. You don't hear that about many GMs, just the founder. I'm assuming that's what he meant. He continues it on the next one, which is
okay.
The system. You never hear TKD people talking about General Choi or so on. But no, I think that's a good point, right? So why do we talk about all the stuff? Because of Remy made such an impression, which is why I said that's inherent to part of why we're stuck on it.
Okay.
So Bill, you want to take Bill's?
Yeah, Bill's going to be there for another month.
Oh,
so
good. Okay.
Then he's going to go to Guam. Here we go. There we go.
Oh. The phenolic collie sticks be a superior to a red hand stick for self-defense. What is the best way to carry conceal Arnis sticks? I'll jump on this.
Yeah.
So I think the plastic, the phenolic, the really tough sticks, whether it's polycarbonate or whatever, can be a lot of fun for training. You have to watch out a little bit sometimes for the reverb, but they're going to be very durable. They're going to be nice and heavy. They could do a lot of damage. That's all great. I had to laugh about the last question. For me personally, the best way to carry conceal Arnis sticks is not worry about it, because for me, the way I think about Arnis sticks and training is that it's teaches me to think about opportunistic weapons. So anything around me that I grab or whatever, or my forearm, which is just another stick, I think about kind of the same way. Do I carry sticks? Sometimes. I usually have them in my car because I'm training. I carried them through an airport once. It's a different story. But anyway, that's my quick answer. I'll let Tim go.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the joke, which is half serious, half joke, when someone brings a stick to the fight, they're just bringing my sticks to me. But fortunately for us, the system we were taught, the sticks were a teaching tool as much as a self-defense tool.
Yep.
So stick, knife, sword, we do it all. Now, a lot of people didn't take it to that level in Modern Arnis. So I'm not saying it's like there, but if you take your training, it's there if you put the time and effort into it. So but to me, when I see people, I see all this trendy, fatty stuff. Oh, let's do covert knife draws and all this other stuff. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to stand across from you, and you're going to have a knife, which, first of all, they're not carrying a straight. Oh, what is it? My brain's not working today. They're not carrying a fixed blade. They're carrying a folding pocket knife. But they're going to simulate by tucking a fixed blade trainer with doesn't have a sheath in their belt, and they're going to pull their shirt up, pull out, and stab you. Okay. So we're in a fantasy scenario. So once again, we're pretending to be John Wick or something like that. So when they go grabbing for the knife, I'm going after them. You can't draw a knife. And I don't care. I have yet to see anyone who's proficient enough to draw under stress. This is what actually, no. I de-weaponize myself. I carry a nice folding knife, but I don't carry it to use as a defensive tool. And when I have deployed the weapon, when I have deployed it to use it as a weapon, it was prior to the physical encounter. All the alarms went off saying, I'm in a bad place. This is a setup. And I got my knife out and I'm ready to go. That was and that was in foreign countries, by the way. That is when I felt confident what's going on. But I have no delusion about me being able to pull out a knife when I'm being attacked. Not to mention, I'm going to go hands-on. The knife is not my go-to. I'm not going to use lethal force unless I'm in a life-threatening situation. And that's the problem I have with the Filipino martial art community and some of the tactical community, because they're always going, I'm just going to shoot you. Well, guess what? I'm going to use my 9. Well, I'll use my 223, and I can do it from 700 yards or plus. So do you really want to go that route? Oh, we have guns. You think you're the only one that ever trained firearms? But here's the question. Do you have the balls to pull the trigger? And that's, but that's a whole nother topic. So, okay, here we go. This is for you.
Carl from the Philippines there says, sad to say, Master, but some Filipinos don't know about Arnis. That's true.
Actually, it's not some, it's most.
It's unfortunate, right? Nobody knows about their own culture. That's kind of like people just, I don't know. It's a human thing to not do that.
Ty and I walked through a street fight in the middle of Manila during the filming of Fighting Sticks of Arnis. And there was like 30 people throwing down, and no one knew any FMA.
They did They did do the opportunistic weapon things because most things were bricks.
They had bricks and big rocks and stuff like that. They were great at that, but no one was doing anything that's freaking kung fu fighting or anything similar to that.
Yep.
Okay, so here we go.
Doesn't mind if Americans, Europeans, or whatever group are doing Arnis. We're all just here to learn. I couldn't have said it better. Anybody, you're doing Modern or Arnis, more power to you, man.
A belly song blade. There we go. I can draw a knife. Give me I was waiting for that. And then Maganda Gabi Porene Tongson.
Very good. Very good.
Listen.
See, more networking.
More networking. Listen, I think Filipino martial arts is good for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the term Filipino martial arts because it is an all-encompassing thing. Because too many people forget that there's arts like Kuntao, Sikran, and all these other things.
Yep.
And they completely forget about this.
Yep.
So I'm an equal opportunity offender. But the fact of the matter is that I think this is a great art. It offers a lot if you find the right person teaching it. And part of it is if they tell you and they're honest with what they're offering. So I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so why I choose Modern Arnis over all of the other Filipino systems I train. It's the most versatile. It's the most self-defense approach. And I've seen too many, including some of the systems I do, they're too weapon centric,
Mm.
and if they don't have a stick or a knife in their hand or a sword, they can't protect themselves. And I'm in a world, and during COVID, it was during the BLM moments, and I was misidentified as a law enforcement officer, and I feel that someone followed me into a parking lot to engage, and I put myself in the way of harm between me and my love. I put me in between the assailant and my loved ones. Didn't know if there was firearms in approach with, I had my knife on me, but I wasn't drawing my knife. I head the person off, wouldn't get close enough to lay hands on me. And when I didn't move, the guy's probably half my age. He was the one that backed off and got in the car because of the stance I took and the willingness to, well, in my mind said he may have beat me, but I was going to take him with me. There's no way I was going alone. You lay hands on me, I'm taking a piece. I'm taking a souvenir. And whether that is to go home or to the grave, it doesn't matter. Something's coming with me. So, let me see this, because we're getting to the end here. We're going to have to, what's the difference between Kuntao and so-called Panatukan? Well, I still think Panatukan is more American than Filipino, but that's another story. Panatukan is boxing, is Western boxing with Filipino influence. There we go. Kuntao is more of a karate kung fu-esque type thing. The Kuntao, I did the Kuntao with the W, not the O. So the Kuntao I did it was softer, but they like to compete in tournaments, so they made it more hard karate-esque. So it definitely has more of a karate vibe to it. But when I do the Kuntao with the W, there's really very little weapons training. Same thing with the Sikaran, the Filipino footballing.
Kuntao without the W, at least. I know the roots of that are in Southern Chinese arts as well, or influences. I won't say the whole roots, but it's certainly major influences.
Good people to talk to that as our friends, Mike and May Williams. They are phenomenal at this stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
We have Kali Illustrissimo, Modern Arnis, Wartbag, Bulentwak,
Nice.
Lapunti, just to name a few within the city limits where I am now. But most of the people don't know the school exists because they're mostly backyard. Yeah.
Yep.
Rocky says hello. Or Rocky says
Hey,
it's a Filipino
Rocky.
art of self-defense.
And happy birthday, I believe, to Rocky.
Oh, if that's
today or yesterday or tomorrow, one of those. It's very, very much around this time.
Yeah. So, Remy's focal point was not about sparring. It was about self-defense, taking your moves. Remy would take Filipino concepts, force, self-defense. That really was a big part of what he did. And that's the other reason why I like the art so much, because I grew up in the street environment. So when I got to there, it all made sense for stuff based on real world experience. Here we go. Biggest problem with Arnis people teach parts of the but most people only did 2 to 3 camps. Yep. Average crowd. Yeah. Most people don't know what they're doing. That's the problem with the art within your art, because it led into that. But I mean, Remy was looking to recruit, and a lot of people went off, and a bunch of people stayed in the program. I mean, Ty, myself, and others. I mean, we weren't karate guys, but I mean, I had some karate people that stayed in the program until Remy died and got out of it because they was there for Remy, and the rest of the stuff wasn't, didn't work.
I would even say for me, that was a little bit part of why I was, speaking of why Modern Arnis is, guess what? At least in Texas, we had intensive camps, multiple every year. We had seminars all over the place, and I got to meet lots of different martial artists all over the country. That wasn't inherently a modern arts thing, but that's part of what came to the table for me. Just the opportunities to do all that and see all those things. It's another side thing. Anyway.
There you go. And what's this one?
Thanks, Datu Tim, PG Ty, for doing this, I guess, bringing life and accolades to Filipino culture. We love it.
Yeah. I mean, I can truly say that this has changed my life. I mean, I walked in the school, I was 19 turning 20, and it literally changed what I wanted to do in life.
Was that like what, about 100 years ago?
Maybe 200. I was working at Pizza Hut during the day, and I was doing. I was working at Advanced Autos at nights and weekends, and I got and I planned on training. I said, hey, listen, I'm getting money. I'm going to do all this. And then I left. I should have stayed advanced. I left advanced because I had a full-time day job, 9 to 5, that or 8 to 4, which would allow me to do whatever I wanted. But then I was given the opportunity to take that spot. I should have took the spot because I would have been making a lot more money in the long run, which would have fueled my obsession of martial arts. LOL. But I mean, the thing here is everything I did changed the moment I walked into that school and signed up for Arnis lessons. And it became my career. And I had no clue, absolutely no clue that this is what I was going to do. And just everything was about how to get more training. I wanted more people, not because I wanted a lot of students. I wanted a bigger training group, so there's a bigger gene pool. So when some people don't show up, it's not just me or a handful of us. It was just like more and more about getting more people involved. Of course, we like the Kung Fu Panda movie. At least I do. But Ty's upset because Mantis doesn't have as many roles in his.
Right. There's I think there's one question we didn't answer. It was very beginning. It was the one about
I know which one.
Modern Arnis. Yeah, there it is. Or I don't know what? If I can find it because it's way at the top. What are the unique? What makes something Modern Arnis? What is some unique moves in Modern Arnis? I have a couple examples. I can start there if you want to find the quote.
The weakness of Modern Arnis?
No, the unique pieces of Modern Arnis. What makes it? What makes what we do Modern Arnis?
Well, okay, and the other thing too is we talked about this in case we didn't clarify. It was also the founder.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no question. His charisma, his personality.
Yep.
Weakness of the art, we do not have good groundwork, which I've kind of talked about during there.
Yep. But I mean, for example, so what is a unique move? I haven't seen in other styles, and this is a small thing, but it's a signature move from Remy, Abanico double action, right? There are people have Abanico Corto, they have other things I've never seen anywhere else. Abanico double action.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things too. I really like the double action Abanico. I really, really love that. Yeah, I mean, that was Remy pulled a bunch of things together and made it something. So, so you're going to see a lot of influences from other things.
I disappeared. Sorry.
And listen, yes, Ty, we are almost the same age, and Tim, yes.
Yep, well, pretty much.
Here we go. Wait for it.
Here,
you got to come to Buffalo in May.
Yep.
Because not only is it the 25th anniversary of our organization, Ty and I, and maybe some others, will be celebrating our 60th birthdays together.
Absolutely. Yep.
So we know you're not as old as we are, Maria, but if you want to come and celebrate with us, by all means. So,
but there are other signature moves and ways of doing things that we could pull out if we wanted to.
No clue you become this Datu. I had no clue. The funny thing, here's the funniest thing. So if you come to my school logo has Lapu Lapu on it, and has the Filipino flag with Lapu Lapu. And who would have thought that my school logo was actually what I was going to become? Because it was like, well, who's that? Well, that's Datu Lapu Lapu. Now I'm a Datu, as per Remy, not
Datu Puti.
Datu Puti.
I got the next one.
This one?
No. What's that one?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So empty hand. It's got to be Anyo Anim.
That's my favorite. Yep.
Anyo Anim.
Yeah. So Remy did stick forms only in the Philippines, and in the States he did stick forms and open hand forms. So I would say Tatlo, Bastan Anyo Tatlo, or we call it Bastan Anyo Tatlo.
The Bastan one, yeah. Right.
The third stick form, and then the sixth open hand form.
Yep.
A pot is 2H patterny for me. It has potential, but it's just 2H patterny for me. 2 Taikyoko drill. The karate came through on that one. Okay. Yep. And people, yes, I know Dr. Puti. And Tim Thompson said, just had my 60th. Happy birthday.
Awesome.
May. Okay. So he's turning 61.
And I guess PG Sam will be what?
50
like a month or two before the camp. That'd be good.
All right.
Excellent. So
I have no. So yeah, I mean, I think we nailed it. I mean,
I think so. One of the things I think I have one list of things, if you don't mind me to cover,
yeah.
and that is what people don't realize. What is all in Modern Arnis? We alluded to a lot of things, but the breadth and the completion, the completeness of the art. So I'm just going to do a short list now. This is not definitive, but you've got single stick, you've got double sticks, you've got empty hand, you got knife, you got bolo, you got espadi daga or bastani daga. You've got the striking styles, you've got disarms, counters, and more. You've got joint work and flow and adaptation from those. You've got sinawalis and applications. You've got drills like sombrata we talked about, pass-through drill, or the cruzada flow drill, sinawali boxing. You've got applications galore. Remy stressed applications of all the movements, making what you know and the movements you do effective, not just talking about it, feeling it and drilling it. So strike, and there's application types, right? He actually emphasized all of my 6 that I do, which are striking, blocking, locking, dissolving, or breaking locks, throwing, and movement. Every application was stressed all the time. Forms, empty hands, weapons, and variations to explore. That's just off the top of my head, a list that I put together like minutes before this. But in case you didn't realize, that's all in Modern Arnis. And some weapon-based FMA have parts of those or similar parts of those, but not too many have all of them. I think Prakiti has most of those, but it's a different flavor, and that's fine too. I liked, as we said, Remy's a big part of why these things meshed with us. But I just wanted to list that out there real fast. Is there anything major that I missed there, Tim?
I'm going to say that I don't know of a more complete Filipino system. And unless you committed to the art, you probably don't realize that, how much grappling versus wrestling. And there's not. And that's why this is why I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Because it's not
very, very basic, some little pieces of groundwork. And I don't even know how much of it would have been, Filipino proper. But he did do a few things on the grounds and pins and things like that. But it was just the minimalist amount of stuff. And a lot of it I wouldn't necessarily teach. It still explores how the body moves, so that could be useful.
Did you see did you get this message?
Do what?
I've got hold on. I just got a message. Rob Trezizi.
Oh yeah, I saw Rob.
Yeah, he just messaged us on
a week and a half ago.
He just messaged us on Messenger.
Okay, I like that guy. If you get a chance to work out with Rob Trezizi, you should, and also poke him in the eye for me, gently and not damagingly.
Okay, I know nothing about it. Okay, with a J. I spell nothing with a J because that's what I do. Yes. Yeah, I there's just I don't know an art more complete than modern. I'm not saying we do. Okay, an art's only good as the people doing it. Okay, I know that Professor had a lot of options for me. And it doesn't matter whether where he got the information from. He created synthesis. Like I said, his lots of controls to me, it's all small circle. He may have learned it from somewhere else ahead of time, because I'm pretty sure he knew how to lock long before he met Remy or Wally, but it changed his whole trajectory after he met Wally J.
He was known for grabbing and turnabouts on grabs, but not the same way.
The grappling we have is all stand-up locks and throws and controls. It's stand-up jitsu. That's what we have. We don't roll around on the ground, and that's the downfall. We don't have a ground game.
There's some really, really basic pins, but one person's on the ground and the other person is managing them from not all smothering them. They're not in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sense, but managing the throw that they just did on a person.
Yeah. So it's
very basic.
Yeah. So But
at least that I saw.
Yeah, and I it's good. I mean, we have a good program, but that's something where we don't have there. But Remy really put something good together, and I look at these other arts, and they're very good at what they do, but they don't have that diversity. They don't have that breadth.
Well, here's the other side of it. I mean, why do I like Modern Arnis? Because it's enough. Not only do I like all of the things that we've said, but I can go play with any other FMA weapon-based system, and I can be fine, and I can learn, and I can have fun, and I can, I'm not left holding the bag, if you will.
And I've gone to, I mean, and to double down on that, imagine going to any seminar out there and being able to pick up really quickly because of how broad your martial art topics are. Not in depth, but I would watch someone I'd be at a seminar and I'm watching some guy do something, and I'm like, oh, we do this, we do that, oh, I don't do that, I don't do this. So I would just focus on the pieces that I didn't already have, because movement is movement. And if you really want to learn about movement, Filipino martial arts are one of the best ones to learn. I also like Japanese jiu-jitsu. Well, I liked it through Wally J. I don't necessarily like it with some of the others, because sometimes the Japanese are too focused, and even though the lock may be the same, if the grip is different, they'll have a completely different name for it. And I understand that, but if they're not teaching the correlation that, hey, listen, it's the same thing, just from I grab with my right hand, grab my left hand, it's still all the same, and Wally J the small circle really was good at that.
And I think you need to have both of them. So maybe it's useful to know all the little details and differences, but I think you need to maintain that guiding light, which is, for example, when I talk about disarms, right? There are so many disarms built on this wrist position. There's so many disarms built on this wrist position. And there are others too, but most of them are built on those first two positions. So if you understand how that works, you have a gazillion disarms, depending on the details.
All right, why don't you get this? Let's wrap this up, and then.
So mud goes. You got to know when to flow, when to throw them, and you got to know when to hold them. Okay, so it's that song. Gotcha, Mud.
Yes, he's doing know
when to fold them and throw them. And yes.
The gambler.
The gambler. Yes.
There we go. How about this one?
Pangai Noon and Jiu-Jitsu. Yep. So Pangai Noon's a Southern Kung Fu and Jiu-Jitsu. Anyway, let's see. This is for you, Tim. So having ranking BJJ, are you open to or already integrating ground grappling into your overall self-defense curriculum?
And I like the way they said that, my self-defense curriculum. So
yes, that's why I said that.
I do a lot of modular training. So I've always had BJJ as elements, just like I have some Thai boxing elements. And I have a lot of elements in what I do. And sometimes I do these other arts, not because they're better, but I try to figure out how they explain things. So I do Bando, a Burmese martial art. And even though I'm ranked in it, I don't really hang my reputation on my Bando certification. I'm a master level stick instructor with the organization, with Dr. G. That has had probably the biggest influence on my martial art development as a teacher. And simple things of how they would say, like one of the things is, Dr. G would ask me, why do you step the way you do? So, well, if I do a power stroke with stepping from my right, I step my right foot forward. It's about better body dynamics. If it comes from the left foot forward, when I'm doing follow through strikes, it was okay. Yeah, we don't call it that. Well, what do you call it? Well, we call this. I go, we do, and he goes, well, these are our safety cuts or strikes. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we put that right foot in front because it clears the path for the weapon to travel. I put the left foot front because it clears the path for the travel. So look where the weapon is going and clear that path. And I'm like, that is so much easier to describe from people. So I love training other systems, because sometimes the terminology, it's the reasons. And it's not that it changes. Their reason doesn't necessarily change my art, but it may be the way that I change it to describe the art. And, because, as Filipino martial arts, there was no manual. There was no nothing. I mean, we had the black belt test. And I was fortunate. I had a curriculum that I came from. But it's not that there was this official textbook. Even Remy's book wasn't an official textbook, but we knew what we had to do to become black belts. So, and like I said, I had a structured curriculum, so I built off of that.
Yep.
But it wasn't, it may or may not have been official. And I did more, so I put more into it, and I went a different direction. So, it is what it is. But I do have some things we're working on, but we're not doing a lot. We're not going to do a lot of triangle chokes and stuff like that. It's more like a progressive guard game that So my coach is Professor Jerry DeSano. He's a 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through Helio Soneca. And he just got his 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt, which is basically no-gi black belt. No-gi Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So he's my coach for this, and we work specific things, and, he understands where I'm coming from. He works for my needs and stuff of that nature. So,
well, and I would say that he's one of the better teachers I've seen as far as explaining and showing both, right? Not just one or the other.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's also got a Japanese background in addition to a Brazilian background. And he came to me for Arnis. And I'm like, okay, good, because I want to do some jiu-jitsu with you. And the guy is next level. I mean, like, we are the equivalent of each other in what we do. So
no, he got mad kudos from other people, in related styles that are outrank him by a lot.
Okay, here we go. Thank you for learn much history. Thank you.
Thank you for putting up with us.
Yeah. I appreciate your background. Hope to continue. Good. You said Bondo, is that correct? Yes, I did.
And he's got it already. He must have looked it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's a Burmese martial art, but I don't know if they don't call it Burma anymore. So I don't know what to tell you. It's Myanmar.
Yeah.
Are you Merriman or I don't know? Yeah, whatever.
Myanmar. I still call it Burma because that's when I lived over there in Malaysia. That's how I learned it.
Well, I mean, I'll call them Myanmar, but you know what? I'm still gonna call it Burmese.
Right.
Because I mean, that's what I know it as. It's kind of hard. It's like my friend Tommy, who's now Tia. I talk about Tommy all the time, and people try to correct me. And I'm like, listen, that's my boy. I've known him for decades. We were skate rats together. We're best friends. When I'm around Tommy, it's always Tia. I give him a big hug, blah, 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 go through all that stuff. I got no skin in the game, but I know Tommy,
Right.
And when we're together, I respect Tommy the way Tommy wants to be. It is Tia, and that's all there is to it. So, so as far as the Bondo thing, it's the way I was growing up. So it's Burmese. So, all right. Well, listen.
That was good. I appreciate everybody's chiming in with questions and thoughts and everything like that. And I think we stayed, there was some stuff off at the side, but I think we covered a lot of ground.
There's always the rabbit hole we step into one way or another, but we didn't go down too far. So next week's show, I was thinking about training tools. What do you think about that?
Training tools.
So
you mean your brain?
Yeah. The difference between
no, sometimes people go to train without the most important training tool.
Yeah, well, I would say I'll call about some people being tools, but that's another story.
Well, there's that
so,
too.
So my thought is about what do you train with? Rattan, hardwood, flat sticks. I'm thinking that route. How do we feel about that?
Could do that. Yeah. We still got to do the other one. You saw my other suggestion for a future one. We can't be too far out about the trip.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. Well, next weekend, I'll think of something. We're going to be talking about the instructors camp. There we go. We'll do part of it, prep for what the instructors camp is, and then we'll do a review of the instructors camp the week after.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do a little of our Philippines tour on both weeks.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Clearing some things up. And then maybe some of our viewers in the Philippines will say, hey, you got to come and visit us while we're on the show.
Be happy to.
And maybe we'll do a mini broadcast from the Philippines while we're there.
We should.
We'll try.
Well,
I don't know.
Even an excerpt, maybe even a free excerpt of a a short blip of a seminar, like, you know, 'cause we're doing a camp
Never know.
over there.
I mean, we could do some stuff using the data on our phones. I don't know if we'd be able to do something at the hotel because we got a lot of brownouts in the hotel.
That's true. We would have to record it and then just post it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I think this is a good show. Okay. Okay, Tim Dobson. Okay. So, all right, I'll do this right now. Train tools. Okay. Good topic. Sweet broadcast. Sweet. That's sweet. Broadcast of Manila. Okay. Okay. So the first weekend of October is the instructor development camp. That is at Horizon Martial Arts, which is the World Modern Arnis Alliance headquarters in Buffalo, New York, or actually West Seneca, a suburb of Buffalo, New York. That's the 4th through the 6th. We have only a few spots left. It is capped at 24 people. And it's a Modern Arnis seminar like no other. We have tables set up, notebooks. We go through the curriculum, Q&A. We go through talking some business aspects as well. People have objections. I'm having a hard time teaching this, that, and the other thing. You know, do you know a way?
It really is an instructor development.
Yeah. Joe Lennon did a private with me, and he was having issues teaching at the police academy on the last thing. And he told me some of his challenges. And we scenarioed this, you know, we role played it and showed how he could have done the exact same thing and get a better result. So these are the kind of things that we go over at the camp. I mean, because we're trying to groom people to be instructors. I want everyone to be able to do what I'm doing. My concern is this. Okay, when I say this, I'm not sick, but we lost Remy when he was just turning 65. That means I got 5.5 years to get us back to the level that Remy was at. Because I don't see anyone else doing that. Europe is stronger than it's ever been, or it's got bigger numbers. The Philippines is strong in Modern Arnis in namesake, and not necessarily curriculum. The States, where it was the strongest, is now probably one of the weaker spots. And I mean, the headquarters was here. This is the highest concentration of people.
It's certainly not like it was when Remy was around, and that's sad.
And in the Philippines, you can't count the kids, and the reason why is because they're doing the sport. They're not doing the art. Because usually when they graduate out of high school and college, they age out and they're no longer doing Arnis. Right. So it's a scholastic thing over there.
So that's the instructor camp. And then 2 weeks after that, I've got my event down here in DC or Virginia area where we have a day-long training with all sorts of different styles of picnic out in the park. And then 2 weeks after that, we've got November the Boston camp.
9th and 10th, Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah, Salem, right?
So we've got, those are the next things coming up. And then I've got an announcement coming up, which I'm not going to release, but you all need to watch. Because, okay, watch the social media. Okay, listen, look at the Datu Hartman stuff, whether you're doing on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Remember that I'm going after controversial topics to get the analytics working in our favor. So when we're promoting Filipino martial arts, it gets the biggest lens possible. My earliest video, one of the earliest videos was on Filipino martial arts in the movies. I was talking to my social media director today. Facebook alone, 3.6 million views. The immersion seminar, that's
good.
That's
good,
actually
good one,
at the camp too. So I'll be putting out the advertisement for tomorrow. So for those who aren't going to the camp, there's a 3-hour section on the Saturday that you can participate if you show up in person or you do it online. Or if you pay for it and you can't do it live, you will get a digital download of that class. So the immersion series, once a month, more or less, we go through the curriculum, getting everyone ready for May, which is, I think, the weekend of May 18th, if I'm not mistaken, 16th to 18th, I want to say, is our 25th anniversary for our organization, and Ty's and I, and maybe others' 60th birthday. So like we did the last anniversary, I'm trying to knock out of the park and have a big black belt class, because once again, we want to have a quality class of quantity people, a quantity of quality people out there, because we're trying to develop the next gen. It's not about time.
You need both. You can't just have quantity, and you can't have just that one person who's not doing anything.
Okay.
You need both.
That's why we're no longer doing reunion camps and all this other stuff. Someone wants to host one and invite me to be there, fine. But at the end of the day, that is not putting more boots on the ground. And the problem with reunions, because I went to my 40th, less people show up because they die.
You're losing a lot of leaders.
DKI just lost Will Higginbotham,
Yep.
Which is also the U.S. director for small circle jiu-jitsu.
I've taught with him before. Yep.
Huge hit. What are we doing to get more people to step up and take over for people like that when they're no longer with us? Yep. And that has been a huge thing I've been talking about. And the people who think we're doing better weren't on the road with Remy enough to really know our numbers. It's all about scale. And when people tell me, oh, we're stronger than ever, what are you talking about? Because Remy would do 2 seminars a weekend, 60 to 80 people on a regular basis at each seminar. He would probably do 25 of those a year, 25 of those weekends a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you do like 50 seminars and then probably 8 camps. And the camps would go from
at least 8 camps,
80 to 100.
Yep.
And, the camps would have a lot of people from the seminars, but most of those seminars were not repeat people. Right. We don't have those numbers. Brian did a camp that said about 100 people, but some of that was on a day pass. Guess what? He's not doing that every weekend. He's doing that once every 2 years. Okay. Any of us could do that if that's all we focused on. But the thing here is this: what about the rest of the year? How many numbers do we actually have? Right. Is it only 100 people left doing it? And that's why the 100 showed up. We got to work on that next generation. All right. There's my moment on the soapbox. Got to have a rant. All right. Well, listen, we'll double check. Uh-oh. I had to read this for a moment because it was somebody else's name popped in my head. Any chance ever hosting a visit from Master Ken from Emeridote? Okay, so Ty and I both know. I know Matt. Oh, Ty froze on me. Ty, am I freezing or is it you? Ty, is it me or you? Can someone make a? Ty's not there. Can someone shout out at me and see if it's me or somebody else? If you hear me, maybe I'll go over here and check this out. Is anyone hearing me? Is it all me? Am I the dead one here? I'm going over to look over something. Let me know if it's me. Oh, so it was you. It wasn't me.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is.
Okay.
A couple times while we were on.
Okay. Woohoo! Thank guys. Okay, he's okay. Everyone's. I'm like, am I talking to myself?
We didn't just have a nuke out here in DC area. We're fine.
We hear you. Okay, it's just Ty. It's always just Ty. Yeah. So, we'll think about what next week. Maybe we'll do training weapons as a topic. I'll the instructor development camp. Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't? No. I know what I want to do. Okay. I have a big pet peeve about hosting events and how people undermine the host. Sometimes the instructor undermines the host without even realizing it. And he froze again. So Ty is freezing once again, but we'll come up with something. I'm going to hang out with Ty. I'm going to wrap things up here. I'll give him just one more minute to try to come back in. Or does anyone else have a topic? Throw a topic out at me. Maybe it ties in. It ties in. Pun. I'm being punny. But what are we thinking? What would be a good topic that you all would like to listen to? And Ty's out, and he should be back in momentarily. And of course, when it does subtitles, it spells Ty's name wrong, like Tie Fighter, bow tie. Oh, I never thought that a tie fighter is a bow tie. Holy cow! Did you realize that a tie fighter was a bow tie?
A bow tie? No, I did not know that.
No, because I'm sitting like I'm reading the thing. I was wanting to see if I was still transmitting, and it is, and it spells your name like tie, as in tie. And I'm like a bow tie. I'm like, wait a minute, a tie fighter would be a bow tie.
Oh, tie fighter. Yes. Yeah. Right. The bow tie. Right. I see what you're saying. I thought you were
Holy
talking
cow.
about a different tie fighter.
Holy cow, that's crazy.
Yep.
So, okay. I think you missed the response. Oh, I didn't miss the response. We actually both know Matt Page.
Yep.
Actually, I know Matt, but you know Matt, right?
No, well, no, I just know him online because we had talked. But I went by the school and I met the school owner. Plays Todd.
It would be fun, but I'm not going to pay him for a public appearance.
So they did that. One of Eric's students did that for Eric. It was hilarious.
Okay.
Eric Harris, not Eric.
Yeah, I think undermining would be a good topic. So one of the things I was talking about is the undermining that's instructors. Okay. There's when someone hosts you for a seminar, there's ways you can help the seminar and ways you can hurt the seminar. And I might want to talk about how instructors sometimes unintentionally undermined the host and how to avoid that.
Yep.
Here's another one. Four Corners.
Oh, wow.
Get a couple of regional Four Corners. Get a couple of regional people for a small series. Cool. Not a bad idea.
Yep.
Got to see who we get. Hey, Rich, you want to be on next week?
I think he just volunteered.
Yeah. Well, it might be not be Four Corners. It just might be the triangle. It might be the FMA Triangle.
There you go.
Not to be confused with the Bermuda Triangle, but all right. Well, listen. Let's wrap this up. I think this was a really good show.
Yeah. No, it was good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. With no further ado,
before I disappear again.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We got to run. Got to get there before it's gone. I want to thank everyone it's always a pleasure sharing information. And man, we're having much better numbers during this than we've had in the past.
Good deal.
So I mean, 30 strong the whole time, 30 strong live.
Thanks, everyone.
That is amazing. I should have looked where they're all from. YouTube, my personal page, my Datu Facebook page, and the World Modern Arnis Alliance Facebook page. I think that's what we focus on. I might throw it on Instagram next week. I've been doing that off and on. So, all right. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for chiming in. Love having my wingman with me, because I think we do very good together, and others have talked about us being the dynamic duo. Neither one of us is Burt Ward. I'm just going to say that we do not wear those things.
That's right.
All right. So with no further ado, this is Datu Tim.
And PG Ty. Take care, everyone.
See you all soon.